Good evening to all our friends from India, and good morning to our friends and hosts from the US and other parts of the world. Welcome to this webinar on creating an amazing workplace, leveraging 360-degree feedback. I'm Ramesh Ranjan, the co founder of the Global HR community, and I'm very honored today to set the context, introduce the topic, and the speakers for this evening's webinar. GHRC was an initiative started by Dr. Nathan, who's also here on the show, and my other colleague, Srikant Arimanithaya, basically to provide a platform, a digital platform to build a global community of people managers, business leaders, HR professionals, academicians, students, and entrepreneurs to come together to promote excellence through people in organizations, in individuals, and in the society at large through our guiding principles of connect, learn, and grow. As part of our initiatives in trying to build a global community and shaping the future of people management, we organize events on a regular basis, and the webinars, which are conducted every fortnight, is part of our process of trying to engage our community members. We also have strategic partnerships with organizations which are having a niche for themselves in certain areas of people management. And one such partnership that we have is with Amazing Workplace, who are one of the emerging companies and who are setting standards in creating employee happiness at the workplace. Amazing Workplace is an organization that is helping put in standards for improving employee happiness at the workplace. Their standards serve as the foundation of everything Amazing Workplace does, from Amazing Workplace certification, ranking, and awards. Their goal is to see a world where employees are happy and every employee at the workplace is amazing. Implicit in this goal is a belief that every workplace can have happy employees and become amazing. One of the key factors that helps in building an amazing workplace is knowing the pulse of the organization and gathering feedback from all the stakeholders. 360-degree feedback is a powerful tool that helps organizations to get a well rounded feedback from all the stakeholders. In today's competitive business environment, employee engagement and continuous feedback are critical to organizational success. This session, Creating an Amazing Workplace, Leveraging 360-degree Feedback, will dive into the significance of using 360-degree surveys to foster a culture of open communication, constructive feedback, and performance improvement. I'm happy to introduce to you the speakers of the day. Charles Turtle is the sales director at Amazing Workplace, focusing on creating thriving work environments through effective solutions that enhance employee experiences. His approach combines a strong work ethic with meticulous planning and a deep understanding of workplace transformations. Outside his professional role, Charles is actively engaged in church and nonprofit work, emphasizing community service and practical problem solving as impactful alternatives to government interventions. This service driven mindset is reflected in his work at the Amazing Workplace, where exceeding client expectations is his priority. We have our second speaker, and I'm happy to introduce Brooke Zimmertor, who is the CEO of Massive Alliance, a media and technology company specializing in executive branding, media relations, and AI driven solutions. He co founded Strikes' magazine, Emissary AI, and the Massive Editorial Alliance. Brooks helps executives build personal brands and amplify their thought leadership to strategic media partnerships. He also contributes to Fast Company, Entrepreneur Magazine, sharing insights on leadership, communication, and innovation. Brooks' work is driven by a commitment to amplifying stories that inspire positive change and innovation in society. Before I hand over the proceedings to the speakers, I would request our co founder, Dr. Nathan, to say a few words and then hand it over to the speakers. Dr. Nathan, please.
Ramesh, thank you so much. I truly appreciate all the people who are on the call today, taking the time out to listen to arguably one of the finest conversations that we'll ever have. 360 is rather special. It's special because of the several tools that are available, you will find that it's always about me, myself, and that's through a variety of tools which says, okay, you are this, you are that. At some point in time, you almost get labeled. I remember growing up, I got labeled as an introvert. And then I started to think that perhaps I was one. And I lived that confused stage well into my teens, and it got even worse. Then I came into an organizational setting. And before that, of course, we read a lot about psychology and a lot of the stuff which is around 360 in my student days. Much later, I got to experience the 360. I must confess it was a sad experience. It was a sad experience because at the end of almost like about 3 months of people giving feedback, somebody collating it, putting it into worksheets and then bringing the whole thing together, forget about the time getting lost. It was more about when you had a conversation about the 360, I felt very miserable. I almost thought that I was a complete, misfit in that organization. And I lived that for some time, and I met my mentor, and he gave me one feedback which helped me really come out of all that mess. And his feedback was very simple. He says, listen to all the feedback that you receive. Look at the ones that you can work on. Some just ignore. Some just ignore unless it is something that you would like to personally work on. And that got me thinking. I said, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I know what I need to work on. I'm getting useful feedback. And fast forward, almost 6-7 months back, I met Charlie. And Charlie and I started to work together. And with a few clients, I use the 360, which is by Amazing Workplaces. And I can tell you, it's the one tool I will recommend to every single client of mine because of a couple of reasons. One, it is very intuitive. Two, it's fun to fill, fun to receive feedback. At the end of it, it leaves you feeling good, regardless of how you have been rated. It's not a matter of, this is how people feel about you. That's it. There is no labeling. He's not telling you you are this, you're that. And you come back and say, man, that was easy. And it works on the whole framework of happiness. How happy are people working with you? And I won't let the cat out of the bag because you have experts on the call out here. I must say, 360 is a lot different today. So with this, I'm going to turn this over to Brooke and Charlie to take this up. This is going to be a fascinating session, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brooke, you're on mute.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And thank you for giving us this time today. It's a pleasure to speak to all of you. As was discussed, can you see my screen, by the way?
Yep. We can
okay,
see
great.
You. We can see it.
Perfect. Yeah. So as was discussed and introduced by Ramesh, my name is Brooke Zimmator. For the last 12 years, I've been working with C-suite executives from IBM to Microsoft, Amazon, and my job has been primarily to help executives communicate. And what's interesting about this and how this comes into the amazing workplace environment, and in my role now here at Amazing Workplace, is that the common denominator of every C-suite executive I've ever worked with has been people, whether it's been problems with turnover, problems with finding great talent, problems with, in general, morale, productivity, and efficiency. And when it comes down to it, is that people are willing. People are willing, and one can get into a point of view that, oh, maybe this person doesn't like being here, and you can get suspicious, and you can have negative emotions, and you can have this sort of a clash between executive leadership and employees. But what we found from working with hundreds of C-suite executives and the tens of thousands of employees in that interactive environment is that those people are willing and they just want to do a great job. They want to do a great job. They want to take care of themselves and their families, and they want to be supported in doing that. And the primary breakdown of why this fails is data. An Amazing Workplace was founded, its co-founders have created amazing workplaces. After creating several businesses that were sold for over $500 million, they took not what the business topic was, but how they did it. And they found that the common denominator was the people and the happiness, which was determined by accurate data. The only way they could maintain that ecosystem of people who are collaborating and working together and thinking along the same purpose and the same mission was to have accurate data that they as executives could then operate on. So the biggest challenge that we had was, why is this person inefficient? Why is this person unhappy? Why does this person seem to not move forward? Or why are they doing great and this person isn't? Why is this, and this ability to evaluate at a human level each individual and then do that at scale has been an almost impossible task until now, until the technology, algorithms, and also with the support of artificial intelligence to truly capture viewpoints. And I'm going to explain this technology a little bit to you about 360 surveys. Let's go into a little definitions. 360 is referring to, obviously, the degrees of viewpoint, right? So you've got a spectrum, a degree of viewpoint. If you take the individual at the beginning, at the center, right? Right here, if you got 360, you have the individual. Surrounding that individual is a life dynamic. One speaks with their partner in a different way that they speak with their boss. One speaks with their boss in a different way that they speak to the person who reports to them. And one speaks and every single type of communication varies. So the viewpoint, what you're seeing here is actually a grid of viewpoints. And these can be mathematically mapped out through technology. So almost like a neural network. If you have the person at the core and you have all the interacted activities around them, you have essentially the life ecosystem around the individual. And in the workplace, this is very applicable. It doesn't matter what type of workplace you have, whether it's remote, in office, you have channels of communication, and some of them are slow, some of them are fast, some of them work really well. Sometimes you go to a person because you know it's going to get done. Sometimes you don't go to a person because you know it's not going to get done. And we live a very human life in our employee environment, in our work environment, where we are all here willing and trying to do better. And this is the same for pretty much every employee. And it was a problem for leadership to understand this at a unique level. So 360 surveys, what are we doing here? We're taking all the viewpoints, all the points of view outside of the individual plus the individual's point of view, and we're measuring them so that we can see where there's a block, where there's a good flow, where there's great activity, where there's positivity, where there's negativity. And now it gives us a true spectrum of data from which to operate. Now, I don't want to get over complex. This system, what we've done here in this system, and this is simplify it. So the next step here was, okay, how do you measure a response? We have in any work environment, a single individual can interact with up to 20 people on average. Typically, a well-structured work environment will have a hierarchy where management will have direct report of about five to eight on average, if you want to keep a balance. And then from there, you have all of these people. So how do we measure this, right? Okay, so here's how this works. After determining what the viewpoint of an individual is, and using technology to identify the ecosystem around an individual, the next challenge technologically that Amazing Workplace came up with was what to measure. Now, Amazing Workplace is the first company to truly measure human feeling. Okay, so let's talk about that. Human feeling is not just I like apples or I like work. It's not just are you happy at work? Yes, no. It's not just, simple multiple questions. Human feeling is something that is expressed and felt by the individual and typically is not extracted at a level. If you ask me how I feel about certain parts of work, they can vary, like a very interesting data graph, and it will be a sensation that I have. And this has been a problem for years, to be able to measure that sensation of feeling that a person has natively towards an activity or a thing or a person or an organization. And so Amazing Workplace, what it's done is it's created a very simplified sentiment graph. And this is just the first part of the capturing of feeling. And this survey, in 360 surveys, this goes to everybody. So all the peers, all the stakeholders, fellow employees, management, whoever it might be that you want to get a 360 survey done on an individual or an area. And then it captures their feeling. And what this does first is it creates that first human emotional response. Now, the next thing that Amazing Workplace found was that everybody has a different definition for the same thing. Everybody has a slightly different definition for the same thing. So if you're going to ask somebody, how do you feel about John Smith's leadership skills? You better know what leadership is, because this is going to wildly change what the impression is. And if leadership is for you is empathy and kindness and servant leadership, that's great. If leadership for you is power and force and authority, then that's going to give you a different response. So to get accurate data, one must also provide accurate definitions so that everybody is thinking with the same thing. Otherwise, you have different viewpoints. As we do 360 surveys and you accumulate maybe 20, 30 reports on a single area or activity or person from the survey technology, the corruption of data can occur based on different viewpoints, right? Everyone's different. Everyone has a different opinion. So we define the standards of what the definitions are and what we should be asking about. All right. So let's talk about the surveys here. So 360 surveys, within the amazing workplace platform are carefully designed to capture each part of the human interaction with an organization or activity or project or thing. And it's been all carefully designed to cover every single vector of how people interact with each other and ask questions relating to that, right? So, Charlie, do you want to jump in here to give any other explanation of the survey? Or are we
I
good?
think, Brooke, I think that what we've explained is the underlying importance of why we collect the data the way we do. And for all of you that are here, it is a very different look, particularly from historical surveys. And it's because, to Brooke's point, we want the feeling. We want to know stomach, heart, mind feeling about this leader, about this employee. And the things that we ask, you'll see here, are very straightforward. The other things we've done is we've gotten rid of big words so that people do not misunderstand anything. And as Brooke said, we want everybody on the same page. It's the reason we define a starting point. Because if we don't, we learn that it creates a various amount of different responses without a foundation to go forward from. The example on the screen here, and we can just simply start with one. John explains things simply so that everyone understands. It's a simple yes/no question. If you give us a no, if somebody says no, there will be an immediate remark that comes up and says, that's unfortunate, or we're sorry to hear that. Can you explain further? And it allows the capturing of comments to any of the questions so that you have the ability to tie for the first time comments directly to a question. And it is a very unique perspective that has come about in our software and really, to Brooke's point earlier, our AI. And it is really important so that you can see the why behind the answer. And for the first time, your ability to capture the why is very, very critical. The other side is, if you answer yes, we're going to filter a question right behind it that says, do you care to explain? Because we also want to capture the good side of John. We want to hear the good things, particularly because this is a peer related, this is a leadership related. And to Brooke's point, we can actually go to your best customers who that leader might interact with and get customer feedback, which is really important. So that on both sides of the question, we want the why. And it's the first time anywhere in the industry we've been able to do that. And ultimately, at the very beginning, Brooke said, what we do better than anyone else is get you really, really good data to work from so that the foundation of how we're going to move forward with the 360 has all the correct data you need to make good decisions. Bad decisions come from bad data or inconsistent data. Good decisions come from capturing the best data we can capture, as well as tying the comments so we understand the why. I think, Brooke, that's a really good place to be. And then we move on. But does that make sense,
Yeah.
Brooke? Is that what we're looking
Yeah.
for here?
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. Absolutely. What you're seeing here and what I'm explaining is the drill down of deductive logic of the problem of capturing human feeling. And with this, the technology of Amazing Workplace has solved each parts of this, starting with the viewpoints and peers, how to truly get a full picture. Next, moving into asking the right questions. What are the base questions that truly bring out a response and don't slant in either direction? Because questions can also lean in certain directions. You can be leading in certain questions. Then we have the conversational AI, which is, okay, it's not just a yes, no. It is the why. Like what made you say that? What made you say that? What is, let's extract a little bit more of that human understanding of your point of view. And all of this is about the recognition that your point of view is important. Your point of view is the most important point of view. And so the platform is designed to interact with its user as if they are the most important person. And just like a human would in a conversation, when you're talking to an important person and you're interested in them, you're going to want to understand. You want to come to an understanding with them. I like apples. Okay, great. Do you like green apples or red apples? Do you see? It's important because I'm interested in you, because I care about you. I'm interested to understand, to have full clarity. And so not only do we want to make sure the response is accurate, but also to have context. And that's only done through human conversation. So the conversational AI part of the platform allows for us to create that clarity. At which point we then run into the next phase, which is just sentiment. So here's where we're asking for the feeling. And it's a simple sentiment graph, as you can see, sentiment scale. And really good. Each one of these has in the back end deep metrics with a grading system that shows up in a beautiful dashboard, which you can request to receive a demo from Charlie afterwards and the team if you want to have a look at how the dashboard looks. But it's the front end of this thing is very simplistic. We're here to trigger an emotional response. This is what we want, right? Simple. No other opinion. Okay. All right. So going into the next phase here, again, definitions. Every single time we talk about a topic, we define it precisely. So the concept is consistent across all peers of a 360 survey. And here's another example of efficiency. Tasks and projects John works on gets done on time. Yes and no. That's it. So when you're creating a survey, all you need to do is enter the names of the people. And now the surveys are being distributed and the recipients, and now the surveys are being distributed, and you've got an automatic data collection of depth here. And then how do you feel like John is highly productive at work? So what you're seeing here is what I want to talk about here is there's one extra step that happens. At the end of every survey, we will ask for an evaluation of your opinion. So for example, let's say you've just filled out a survey on John. At the end of the survey, we will say, it seems like you're quite happy with John. So this is part of the feeling technology that's built into Amazing Workplace. At the end, it'll tabulate all of the results, and through a conversational piece, it will actually create an evaluation for you. It seems like you're quite happy with John, and he's quite productive. Now, here's what's interesting. From a user perspective, over 80% of users will change their answer at that point. So part of the quality assurance process of the 360 survey and the platform itself is to actually fully verify the complete concept that has been collected by the survey, which has been auto-tabulated as you've been going along. So it'll then challenge you to confirm your point of view. Again, your viewpoint is the most important, and it must be accurate. So if I ask you right now, it seems like you're enjoying this webinar.
Brooke, can I ask you a question, please?
Absolutely.
Sure, Harish.
My name is Harish.
Harris,
Yep.
nice to meet you.
Thank you. When you say that you've kind of examined the entire sentiment, how many emotions have you kind of actually examined?
So yeah, so the data points on this is a great question. Now we're getting into the technology, but the data points are based on the responses and the sentiment of those responses, the emotional, this simple scale, which occurs at every single question level, and a little algorithm, which is part of the IP of a amazing workplace, which is part of the AI element. So what's done here is all responses multiplied by context, which is then requested when the conversation is asking you for more data, multiplied by this scale here, will
So
then form a
effectively,
calculated.
you're boxing me into one of the six.
Yeah, well, you've given the data, and then it's actually suggesting that this is your point of view, right? So if you and I have a conversation right now, by the end of that conversation, I will then say, okay, Harish, let me see if I understand you correctly. This is how you feel about this webinar. And then you'll go, yes, but I also, and you'll give me an expanded point of view.
Yep.
So what this does is it's saying, did we understand? By repeating back what it's the summation of the concept that you've given it. And it does this at every single user level. At every user level. It doesn't matter if you're a customer who's just filling out a product review. It doesn't matter if you're an employee who's doing a quarterly performance, or more importantly, the 360 feedback surveys, which is the highest volume of collected data from the most viewpoints. So the most powerful point of view survey, which is this one. It will sum up its understanding of context and meaning. So here is where we get into human nature itself, when we get into the subject of philosophy and the ability to understand people. Here's where we solve the riddle of asking your husband and wife, where do you want to eat? And they say, I don't know. And
Given the fact that I'm a psychologist, I'm also kind of constantly fabbled with what exactly happens. So I cannot box the entire responses into 6 or 8 or 10 or 15, whatever it might be. But I like this particular instrument. I mean, at least it gives a structure to exactly move forward, if not anything.
Yeah, and that's the great thing is that it does box and it unboxes. You see, what it does is it's saying, hey, based on everything you've said, this is my evaluation. Do I understand you? And ultimately, it's up to the patient or the employee or the recipient to say, I don't know. And what's interesting is 80% change or modify their answer. Not completely change, but they will add context. And then you probably experience something similar in psychology, where you're like, it seems like something's happening here. And they go, well, let me give you a little bit more information. And then you tell me what you think, right? So it's we are on the subject of understanding at a macro level the human mind through technology, and AI is allowing us to do that, but also truly dissecting what makes an amazing workplace, what creates happiness in an individual. And what creates happiness in an individual is all of these things here. These are the general things that you see on the left, that have been found to be common denominators that contribute to happiness. Because you'll even find people will leave jobs, like this great McKinsey study that came out recently, where over 86% of people will leave their job if they're just consistently unhappy, even if it's very well paid. And you see that a lot. You hear it a lot. People will take a pay cut just to have some balance or have some meaning or be able to experience growth or an environment where they can grow, maybe be recognized or awards or have a safety of the future. And so happiness can be deducted by these things, but ultimately they can only be captured by understanding feeling. And we will never do it. We will never get it with surface level surveys that are monotonous, dry, and actually don't result in any true understanding. So our goal at the end of this funnel is understanding of the individual person at a level that they haven't been understood before, that typically only a friend at a coffee shop could accomplish, right? And that's the purpose here. And the technology is evolving for us to create that warmth and that security. All of these things, they're anonymous. You can design them so that they can be, people will feel safe to respond. And this creates an amazing workplace. So this is the vision. This is what's been done before. It's been done at a human level with the founders' previous companies. And it has been the core of the growth of these companies. And now these successful practices have been codified into the first ever technology platform, which measures human happiness.
So,
at
Brooke,
any level.
has it been culturally tested?
Uh-huh.
Has
Charlie,
it
I'll
been,
let you lead.
has it been culturally tested?
Haresh, yes. The answer is yes. I want to speak to one thing you asked a minute ago that, Haresh, was a great question. And that is, you can see the way in which we collect data is very different than what industry historically has done. And you're right when you said, I like what I see, it's because we're going to get for the company a very different viewpoint that is much more accurate and thorough than any other way in which these have been done. And because it's electronically collected, Arash.
Charles, your voice is a little muted. Please, can you turn towards the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. So that because it's electronically collected, you're able to very, very quickly see the results and not have to worry about a manual process that delays you getting to the data that's important to work with. But back to your question, Haresh, we are all over the world. Natan, Ramesh are our go-to people in India. And they can share with you some of the companies who we currently work with there. And we have a number of them in the United States. We have a group in Canada. We have a group in South America, in the EU. So that culturally, we have some terrific data we've seen, and we have the ability to provide best practices that we've learned and collected across. But again, it goes back to the workplace and really truly allowing the parties to the 360 survey to provide data and in-depth viewpoints at the highest level that's ever been collected. Therefore, it gives the company the ability to look at two things. Where does this person excel? And if we're going to make this one of our best leaders, what are the things we need to do to push them or encourage them or train them in the areas that we got the feedback on? It gives you a roadmap to success that is unlike anything you've ever seen in this area. And it's immediately available to you upon the completion of it. There is no waiting period, so that it's fresh in everybody's mind. That is really important. Brooke, I didn't mean to hijack it.
The best way to experience it here is, we're doing a limited demonstration or just a visual on this webinar of a 360 survey and its power, because it's definitely the most powerful form of survey. But in terms of culture, diversity, and understanding of the environment of which the survey is being done, you'd have to get a demo, because you'll see the flexibility and the way the system helps you design them and customize them as well. So, Harish, my understanding is that you probably have a very deep understanding of individuals, and you're one of the best user types in terms of a product use manager. So, which means that you would be able to leverage some of its flexibilities and customizations, even though all of this stuff is built out in a library, you can modify it. You want to see different data types, you want to see different variants or responses, that's all modified. So I did put a demo link into the Zoom chat. I recommend filling it out, and somebody will get in touch and schedule a 15, 20-minute demo with you, and just have a look. Ask them specific questions about challenges that you have in your organization and have them show you how it can solve that. Go through a live 360 demo experience, go through and check out the dashboard, see what type of data you get back. And I'll tell you one thing that's amazing about Amazing Workplace, no pun intended. There's one last step. And here's why people hate surveys, other than they're usually pretty mundane. Nothing gets done as a result of them. We do surveys and there's no change, okay? And this is the final barrier to happiness. Nothing gets done, there's no change. So within the platform, there's an entire new section, and I recommend you get a demo so you can have a look at it. There's a section called Action Ideas. And here is where you can make the change. And it's a full solutions section where you can build out programs and assign them to different managers, HR executives, HR managers, directors, anybody in the organization can be assigned as a user, and there's a full library with the recommended actions to bring about change based on that exact survey. The system will see what the feedback was, what the feelings were, and then recommend a change program. You can assign a deadline to it. You can assign tasks. You can and you can monitor it like a program to effectively bring change. And when you do that last step, which is actionable change, here's where you get respect in an organization, positive reviews, great feedback, and the next survey you do, again, get the dashboard. It's beautiful. You need to have a look to see how you see the graph changing after action has been implemented, and you can see an overall happiness, and you can break it down. You can see happiness with regards to pay, happiness regards to all the different data metrics that are most important to employees and people and customers. So definitely sign up for that demo. It's great. But yeah, we need to bring about change. And that's not just about asking questions. That's not just about listening to people and putting on a smile. It's our responsibility as leaders. It's our responsibility as executives. And it's our responsibility in terms of, really making a difference for the people around us and taking some of that sadness out. There's too much of that in the world. So we are on a mission to change that, but we can only do it with real data, with real accurate understanding at an individual and personal level. So the actionable ideas section will give you all the tools you need to take all of your data and turn them into programs. And they're very simple things. There's a whole section in there. You have to take a look. There's things that don't cost any money. There's some things that maybe you can invest in, like external tools, programs, etc. But the majority of it is actually very human. And so take a look there. It's all based on decades of best practices of creating huge, amazing workplaces with companies transforming into 95 to 99% happiness ratings. And then finally, which is the reputation management side of things. Amazing Workplace loves to reward amazing workplaces, right? So as part of this, there's a strong initiative in our success team where your companies will be given recognition for actually taking action, getting the data, and doing things to change that trajectory of happiness within the organization and changing the feeling. And that'll be reflected through the feedback that's gotten in the platform. And when you hit certain levels, you will be recognized publicly, and which is great for your reputation. It's great for also attracting new talent. And your metrics will be displayed, whichever metrics you want, as well as some of the great reviews and feedback. So you'll also be building your online reputation because amazing workplaces should be recognized. And so there's a big focus there. So there you're seeing the full spectrum from a single survey all the way to change, real positive change, and all the way to being recognized as a workplace for that change. And as we go, what'll happen, it's circular, right? It's an ecosystem. You will find yourself in an environment that's really pleasant to be in. As long as you're doing something about it, right? So we're on a mission. We want to empower you to take this mission upon yourselves and take a look. Let's have a look, like Harish was saying, people are important and we want to make sure that they're heard. So that's it for me. Let's open the floor for any other questions here. Anybody got any questions? It can even be like personal questions. You guys want to know about what Charlie did yesterday?
It's pretty boring.
Charlie's
Ramesh,
life
any
is pretty
thoughts?
wild. Charlie's life is pretty wild. Yeah. Yeah.
Natan, any thoughts, any comments you all that would be helpful or any questions? We're happy to talk to the experience. Go ahead, Ramesh.
I just want to check, Charles, like the Great Places to Work has got some rankings, Do you have similar rankings from the Amazing Workplace
Yes.
organization rankings, which are ranked in the top 10, top 50, or top 100?
So there's awards and certifications. So as you go through, let me just pull this up here. We have an entire division of ours for brand and reputation, which is on a mission to solve the problem of the bias of platforms like Glassdoor and others, right? So that's another part of our mission because that's also like concentrated negativity on those platforms where only upset people will go spend the time to go vent. So you get a slanted view, whereas companies will make change, yet you have a permanence. The internet is permanent, right? So we're working to change all of that. And let's see if we can just now what's going to happen here is that we take different platforms and there's a huge directory. This is being built out as we go. And with these, you can get rewards, reviews, and these awards as you go is a capital firm here. And you win different awards over time as you're implementing new actions. These are then indexed on Google using Google Schema, so you definitely get the recognition. And we're doing some additional actions. This year, we'll be rolling out a mainstream media platform campaign, which is that for those who are doing a great job at Amazing Workplace. We have a partnership being set up with Forbes magazine and Fast Company, where we will be setting up authorships for the executives, for the leaders of the companies who hit certain criteria of Amazing Workplace. They will be given a column to talk about their culture and people and the organizations and what they're doing. So this is a new collaboration that's coming up closer to the end of this year, a partnership with those two magazines, Entrepreneur, probably 2025, Entrepreneur Magazine. So that's great. So this is the reputation side and the benefit. And there's a lot here. So, as you get reviews, these are verified reviews. So within the user interface, again, ask for a demo so you can see how this looks.
Oh.
This is a controlled output. Yeah, this is a controlled output. So these are actual reviews by people and then they get distributed. Sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, there's another question from Maheshwata Paul. She's saying, no action or no positive change is the biggest barrier for happiness. This is profound. How do you get leadership intent or buy-in on action? Some ideas will help.
Thank you. Okay, so this is done through leadership operates on reports. So the majority of executives I'll give you the viewpoint of C-suite. The majority of C-suite have a data report that they expect to be accurate, like a profit and loss sheet, quarterly forecast, and they will make decisions based on these things. Now, the way that we've seen Amazing Workplace most effectively implemented is by bringing in these data reports, and you can generate dashboard reports. Again, get a demo, you have a look at, see how it works. Executive reports that are equal to, in prominence, that profit and loss sheet, that quarterly forecast. So essentially, if executives have their financial reports, you're going to be able to now provide the people report, and it'll be just as alarming and just as exciting and just as intriguing when they see what's actually going on in their organization. And you create buy-in through that accuracy of visuals and simplicity of data, because that's all an executive operates off of. They expect everything to be reported up so that they can make good decisions, good business decisions. So we need to bring that report to them and say, oh, look, the entire slant of this graph is sloping down here. This is predictive of a employee loss by 20%, in next quarter, for larger organizations, right? They work on these trends. So by having a people report, you can now advise the executive to take action. Now, the system is designed so that the C-suite, CEO, executive doesn't actually have to get involved per se, unless it's a smaller company. Small to mid-size, the more hands-on C-suite can do that. But even, from a people perspective, you can assign your middle-level managers tasks to actually take action themselves. Then those reports can also be sent up. It can also be like, dear CEO, this was done. Here's how we changed this graph. So you can also take full ownership of it and just handle it yourself and start moving it in a positive direction. Yeah, but in terms of buy-in of the platform, it's the executive reports,
Thank
real
you.
data, accurate decisions.
Thank
Interesting.
you.
Harish,
Yeah.
are you trolling me? What's happening? Why are you upset? Come on, let's go.
I think you're
I
saying
would
something.
suggest, sorry, go ahead, Arish.
What's happening?
I'll let you kind of do what you want here. Please, go ahead.
Okay. Did you have a question on something?
No questions. Go ahead. You're on a free
Okay.
wheel.
All right, good. Any other questions from anybody?
If anyone has got questions, you can write to us at the GHRC and we will take it up. We will connect you with the Amazing Workplace. As Charlie and Brooke said, we represent them in India, Visara Partners and GHRC, and we'll be happy to organize demos or any interactions with the leadership team of the Amazing Workplace. So, Charles and Brooke, thank you so much for a very insightful session on how do we leverage 360-degree feedback. And what I found something unique, I've also been in the industry for 40 years. I've seen many 360-degree feedback, but probably this is not the first time I'm seeing a system which helps you to measure happiness by measuring the sentiments of people. And that's something which I found it very interesting. And also the fact that you talked about how this also enters into a conversation at the end of every survey, trying to reconfirm whether it understood what the person is trying to give a feedback, which is again I find something unique I haven't seen elsewhere. And of course, I think the icing on the cake was when you talked about reputation management, and when you talked also about the action planning, where the system through its AI engine recommends what actions should be taken to help this particular person to develop in those areas of feedback which the survey has thrown up. So I think it's a very interesting concept. I'm sure a lot many organizations would be happy to take a demo of this and view at this and start looking at the 360 feedback from Amazing Workplace as another option uh, in addition to whatever systems that they have in place today. And
Absolutely.
thank you once again to all the participants for staying up so late. And thank you, Charles and Brooke, for
Yeah.
early morning in the US and for all your sharings and experiences. And have a good day and have a good night. Thank
I
you.
hope it
Thank
was
you,
interesting
Ramesh.
for everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's nice. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you,
See you,
guys.
Bye.
Natan. I'll talk with you tomorrow, sir.